Hello and welcome
to episode 32 of Red, White, and Bi. I'm Hannah.
And I'm Ash. And
and we never know how to transition that, and I think it's kind of like our signature now.
Once again, a weird week to be Donald Trump, you know?
A weird week to be in a nation and a world at the same time as Donald Trump.
Yeah. It's probably really strange for people our parents' age who knew him as like a billionaire and maybe didn't even know that much about him. Just like, oh, he's got a lot of money. He does Domino's commercials sometimes.
I mean, I think it's weird for me as a person born in the late 80s. Also, because it's like you grow up like knowing kind of like who he is, and like he was obviously like a reality star TV person, but like you see some of these old 90s movies where he like is a cameo as himself. He was just sort of like a cultural icon. Like I don't even know.
Home Alone too.
Yeah, like I don't even know how to compare him to anyone. But he was just like his strange own thing, and now he's running the country, and like his grandkids need to take his social media away. He's unhinged.
Yeah, he is getting like crazier and crazier and saying wild things. Like, part of what we're going to talk about is Donald Trump basically tweeting out, or maybe he's truth socialed it. He's like, Allah be praised or something when he's basically talking about how he might end a civilization.
Yeah, the first off,
praise be Allah. I should get it.
I want to back up a second. It must be weird for our parents' generation to grow up with presidents like who were like dignified, and didn't JFK. I'm pretty sure I saw a picture of him like in a ceremonial top hat at some kind of function, like super like tails and top hats for, you know, some bougie thing. So you're going from like this extreme level of like decorum and professionalism, it's the highest office in the free world, to someone tweeting praise be to Allah, we're gonna like genocide a civilization. That's like, never mind, like, you know, what am I trying to say? Like a war crime or something that like somebody needs to intervene on. It's also just like sloppy. It's like we let a clown in.
Well, and some people who like him pointed out it's still a poor choice of words, because if you mean regime and you say civilization, it seems like you're going to nuke everybody, including the Persians fighting for freedom.
Yeah, you've put the word civil, like civilian, in your death threat. You're taking out a people.
Yeah, so it was a lot, sure, but I thought people should realize by now that this is not a serious person and that he's not really going to do it. Like, I think he's crazy in an eccentric, maybe even kind of like I have dementia kind of a way, but not like I'm Hitler kind of a way, like they want us to believe, if that makes sense.
I guess I sort of feel like, to your point, yeah, we do. We kind of like take him with a grain of salt. We know that he runs his mouth. He shouldn't be taken too seriously and stuff. The part that makes me cringe is like, how do you explain him to your foreign friend, basically? Like, does that shit translate? Like, do other people see that about him and realize that? I would think so at this point, right? I mean, second term.
I feel like he's sort of like a 7-year-old who got the keys to the Lamborghini.
Yeah, that's
he's honking and playing around inside, but he doesn't even know how to start it.
But he has the keys and he could start it, and the only reason he's not crashing it and decapitating himself on an overpass
is Marco Rubio.
Sure, we'll give Marco credit. Someone should have it.
Well, so the statement really got the attention of Tucker Carlson, who is, let's face it, probably paid by Qatar, Russia, Iran, anybody who will pay him. He will take their money, and he basically said, like, no president should mock Islam. And it's like, I believe in the First Amendment. I believe everybody should have free practice of their religion. But I think you actually would have some insight on this, just growing up the way you did. People get made fun of a lot when they're like uber Christian.
I think it comes with the territory. If you're going to be devout and you're going to set yourself apart from mainstream culture, you anticipate and know, maybe not know how to deal with well, but you are like fully anticipating that, yeah, you're going to be made fun of. You're different. You're making yourself different on purpose.
It's weird though to me that it seems like uber Christian kids who maybe are homeschooled, they're treated like a little bit differently than like the Amish. I feel like the Amish and Jews in a way are treated like kind of similarly in that like, okay, you're an outsider from society and I think you're weird or whatever, but I'm not going to ridicule you necessarily in the same way. Jews are just hated and blamed for everything, and I think of everybody, I'd rather be Amish.
I think that's an interesting point you bring up, because I feel like when I see Amish people, and I don't know why this is, but there's a major amusement park within like a day trip distance of us, with roller coasters and stuff like that, like a Six Flags type deal, but it's its own thing. And I've seen Amish people there.
I love them.
I really don't understand why they're allowed to do that, or if it's like once a year you get to do something crazy and technological.
Maybe they're on their Roomspringer.
No, but they're like families with like younger kids, and don't you have to be like a young adult to be a Roomspringer?
Could they be like Mennonite and not Amish?
I thought Mennonites were Amish.
No,
Like
there's a slight difference. Like,
okay,
there's a little bit like dialed back, I think.
Well, they wore like bonnets and homemade dresses and things like that. When I see people like them in public, I almost feel like protective.
Oh, I love them.
Yeah, like I don't know that I necessarily feel like I love them. Like I don't have any bad feelings whatsoever toward them, but I feel like a little protective. Like no one better give you a hard time.
Yeah.
You're just here and you're innocent and you're enjoying life, and like you've chosen a weird life for yourself that I don't understand, but no one better fuck with you, is how I feel.
I love them.
And I wonder what that is. I mean, we could probably like have a whole class and doctorate thesis on it, right? But like when you have other groups that are treated very poorly for being different, and I'm sure the Amish have had their fair share, but there is that like protectiveness.
Well, it's because
it's interesting.
It's because anybody like whether it was because you were little Hannah going to a Christian school or because like you're married to a woman now, I think anybody who has been otherized at some point knows what it's like when people ridicule you or just treat you like you're kind of like an alien. And that makes sense to me that you would want to stand up for somebody you see experiencing the same because you're a good person.
Well, I appreciate the compliment, but I also suspect you might feel that way a little bit about them. Like there's something about them that I think is totally external to me that is, I don't know, they're like almost like the family member who isn't as sharp or streetwise or whatever as everybody else, and you kind of look out for them. Do you ever have those feelings toward them too? Am I crazy?
I just think they're precious people. I think they're good people.
Yeah.
I think they're the people who go down to states that they've never been to and help people rebuild after hurricanes. I feel like it's like I cannot do what you do, but I respect your choices. To me, it's like me and straight people. You know, like I can't do what you do, but I'm glad if you have a whole bunch of kids and you raise them all to be gun-toting conservatives. I respect it, can't follow your path.
Legitimate question, and I don't know why we're even talking about this, but it's something I've never thought about. Do Amish people vote?
Yes.
Oh, cool. Okay.
They're doing the Lord's work.
Yeah, I guess so.
The last election, I have never seen anything like this, but I saw their buggies with Trump flags. Pretty cool, even if you don't like. I didn't want to vote for Trump. I voted against Kamala Harris, but I really did feel like she's going to usher in communism. Like, we can't lose this election. And I'm like, the Amish people are showing up, and I respect it.
And I think it's interesting that they choose to live their life in a communal way and take care of each other and to some extent pool resources and like have an almost communistic micro living situation. But they understand in the larger context of the country, they want that conservatism of being left alone and left to live the life that they see is the best fit for them. I think that's interesting because your personal beliefs and your beliefs about how a country should be run can be different.
Well, and they want the freedom to live the life that they choose, and that, to me, is a very conservative sentiment, which...
But, like, you see what I'm saying, though?
Yeah.
Like, they believe in their religion and their, like, way of life so strongly that they take it to an extreme. Like, they live in an extremely fringe way. But they, at the same time, don't, kind of like Jews, right? Like they don't need anyone else to do that. They're not out there trying to convert people. They just want to be left alone to live the way that they want to live.
Which, we could talk about this some other episode, but I watched this whole interview about how they were basically being persecuted by the Canadian government and fined every time they tried to cross bridges. And it's just like, it was so abusive that it made me think, like, don't go over there. Like, fuck those people.
As if we needed another reason to say fuck you, Canada.
It made me so upset. And to me, it's like, you're abusing these sweet religious people who are exceedingly helpful to others who are not even a part of their communities. And it's like, to me, people going after Jews is kind of the same. Like, they're really, like, they keep to themselves, sure, but they reach out to other people. They take people in. They're philanthropic. It's just like,
why have great businesses that people who are outside their community flock to. They have, like, the best farmers markets and the best, like, produce and vegetable stands. They make amazing, like, textiles. When I was a kid, why are we talking about this?
Because the Amish are fantastically interesting.
When I was a kid, we took, like, you know the expression, like, a dude ranch. We took a vacation in Lancaster, Pennsylvania. Where we
did.
Yeah, where we stayed with an Amish family on their dairy farm and, like, learned their way of life for a week. But while we were there, I know we bought quilts for my sister and I. We bought, like, some Amish furniture. Our wooden bunk beds were Amish, and the quilts on them were Amish.
They make the best furniture.
And they make really good molasses pie.
And I'm not being funny. We need our floors refinished, and I think that we should let the Amish do it. They do it better than anybody else.
Yeah, and if someone's going to have my money, I think the Amish deserve
our money. Take our money, Amish. Take it.
So weird that we started talking about this. Let's get back to the point here.
Okay. So there's a big to-do with Tucker Carlson being really offended suddenly that Trump would dare mock Islam.
Okay.
Like, never mind anybody mocking any other religion or how terribly he goes after Jews. And laughably, he and Dave Smith had a little powwow about how Tucker fights anti-Semitism. Weirdest shit I've ever heard.
Trying to say, like, legitimately, or was it?
Yeah, he's the only one trying to stop it by pointing out all the evil things that Israel does.
Ah, yes.
He's trying to
savior of the Jews.
He's trying to differentiate between the Zionists and the Jews, even though 98% of Jews are Zionists.
It just, you don't need to know anything about Judaism or the politics of Israel. All you have to do is listen to the guy, and, like, it's a ridiculous statement that he would be like a champion of Jews or whatever. Yeah.
Anyway, so we have this statement that Trump issued on Truth Social in response. I know why Tucker Carlson, Megyn Kelly, Candace Owens, and Alex Jones have been fighting me for all these years, especially by the fact that they think it's wonderful for Iran, the #1 state sponsor of terrorism, to have a nuclear weapon. Because they have one thing in common: low IQs. They're stupid people. They know it. They know they're stupid.
So they have a little bit of intelligence, I guess.
Their families know it. And everyone knows it. Take a look at their past. Look at their record. They don't have what it takes, and they never did. They've been thrown off television. He's not wrong about this. Lost their shows. Not wrong about that. And they aren't even invited on TV because no one cares about them. They're nut jobs. Troublemakers.
Goodness.
And will say anything necessary for some free and cheap publicity. And now they think some clicks because they have third-rate podcasts, but nobody's talking about them. And their views are the opposite of MAGA.
Is this one sentence?
Yeah.
Honey.
Or I wouldn't have won the election in a landslide. That MAGA agrees with me and they just have CNN talking about my 100% approval rating. They're flailing fools.
He lost his own thread like 20 minutes ago.
Yeah. But he ends by saying the United States is now the hottest country anywhere in the world, which I appreciate because it's just funny.
Isn't hottest in quotes?
No.
No, I thought it was. No, it is.
Is it? Yeah,
the United States is now the, quote, hottest country.
He doesn't know when to use quotes, and he uses them so often that I lost track.
And I will tell you, his use of capital letters would make a German blush. Like, every noun almost is capitalized for no apparent reason. This thing is, like, in, like, 0.2 font and takes up most of the screen of my phone. So, long story short, he should not be in charge of his own social media. I don't know who thought that this was, like, where's his legal team? Where are his handlers?
Well, here's the thing. I'm glad he did it, though, in this case, because
he's not wrong. He's not wrong. The people he named, Candace, Owens, Tucker Carlson, and Megyn Kelly, like
Alex Jones even.
And credit where credit's due. Well, Alex Jones is his own unique animal that.
But he went after the Jews, and he's just lost it.
I have a lot of compassion for him because I think he's ill, and I think when he goes off, I think he needs help, and people exploit him. But that's beside the point. What I was going to say is credit where credit's due. You have been saying this for months, if not like a year or more. Like, it's clear that these people are grifting and they're taking money for their opinions. Yeah. Like, they put out, like, coordinated opinions, like, the same kind of verbiage in their posts and stuff, all unleashed at the same time. Like, it must be rewarding for you as somebody who is seeing this for a long time now to see them sort of, like, get their comeuppance a little bit. Like, the world sort of acknowledging, like, oh, hey, wait a minute. Like, people are catching up to the idea that they're on the take and it's a coordinated, like, propaganda movement.
And what's interesting is in the last presser that, he took in the White House, he basically answered the question from CNN, CBS, as to whether or not these people are going to be investigated, because there are laws against taking money from foreign governments that are enemies and propagandizing on their behalf. And he said they're all being investigated, that they're looking into this. And that might be why, it might be something he knows, Hannah, that makes him feel more free all of a sudden to just say, like, I'm going to call these people out.
Just about anybody else, I would would agree with you. I think that Trump is unhinged enough to have no basis for what he says, but I think there's like a 50-50 chance for sure.
But I think it's possible that the same reason he had Tucker Carlson to the White House just before he bombed Iran was...
It's a real power move in retrospect, isn't it? It's a real, like, fuck you, look what I can do.
He told Tucker, I mean, this is the rumor, that he wasn't going to do it, so that he would go back to the Iranian regime and tell them they were safe.
That's okay.
And in the picture, Tucker, who has in private text for, months prior to this most recent election, said that he hates Trump. Tucker looks how he wants to look in a picture. Like dignified, but not smiling, like I'm not his friend. I'm here doing the work that, I've been tasked with. And Trump has the most giant shit-eating grin in that picture, and he probably thought, I got you.
I know there is like two sort of camps of opinion when it comes to him, that he's like a buffoon and he doesn't know what he's doing, or he's playing like 3D chess, like super genius. I don't want to fall into that second group. I don't want to say he's like 3D chess super genius, but I think that is a reasonably believable amount of strategy I could expect out of him. Like, he knows what he's gonna do, and he's like how amazing that there's that photo now that both of them can look back on, and Trump knows what he knows in that photo, and then Tucker in retrospect can tell what Trump knows in that photo. That must be amazing.
Well, and I think, even a broken clock with a squirrel that is a little too orange and very eccentric is right twice a day. And I feel like Trump can sometimes stumble upon something good. Like every once in a while when I'm totally like, I'm done with him. He'll say something like, you should be able to carry all these mortgage payments into your new property. And I'm just like, well, God bless.
That's the thing with him, right? Is like, obviously he gets the crazy people. He gets MAGA. He gets like the extremists and like buffoons and the easily manipulated. But like people like you and I, 9 times out of 10, it's like, what a fucking loser. What an asshole. What a bully. What a idiot. An idiot. Here I go. But then, yeah, you're right. He'll do something where he, like, reels you back in. Like the shitty boyfriend who, like, makes you believe he loves them and then cheats on you 9 times. And then, like...
Oh, but now he's in therapy.
Yeah, now he's in therapy and buying you roses and, like, remembers your birthday.
Yeah,
He's got an interesting quality for that. And I guess that's how he's lived his whole life, right? Like, you look back and it's a portfolio of disaster. But he's still, like, this icon of wealth and success and... He's an interesting guy. I don't want to say he's like deserving of all the interest or enigmatic, but he's interesting.
Well, yeah, and he worries me like for many reasons, obviously, but like when I think about like how close we probably were to toppling this regime and then like the dialing back, it's like, are you just trying to make it look good? Is this the government doing what they always do where they say that they want to help, but they never really get to the helping? Is it that Qatar asked you not to take them out fully, but to mess them up because we want to be number one and we're paying you? Or does he really think that he's just that great a negotiator that he can fix all of it and have peace and still win a Nobel Peace Prize? I don't pretend to understand him. I can't.
Yeah, I agree with you there. I think that's the intrigue, right? Is like he keeps you guessing, he keeps you off-footed. It's like habits of highly influential people, right? Like you're constantly off-footed with him. And that gives him, if not any admirability, it gives him a little bit of power.
Hannah and I were just talking about this clinical psychologist who pulled together all of these characters and women had to vote on who was most attractive and overwhelmingly they voted for Don Draper, who never talks about himself. And she pointed out to me that maybe he's just that mysterious that, you know, you want to know more.
I think there's something about women that chase like an aloof man or an emotionally unavailable man in general. Like it's the mysterious bad boy that you never really get to know, and maybe I'll be the one to break that wall.
Or there's something a little bit off that needs fixing. And Trump has all of these elements.
Oh, for sure.
You know?
He's kind of like tragic. I don't want to like fall into some kind of speech about him that would make someone think I have Trump derangement syndrome. I don't. I really don't. Like, I think he's a fuckboy at the end of the day. But like all fuckboys, the reason they're fuckboys, the reason it works is because there's that tiny like 5 to 10% of like beauty that pulls you in. And then, you know, the 90 to 95% that is repulsive.
Well, yeah, and it's weird, too, because most people aren't black and white.
Nobody is.
And I think when it comes to a president, sometimes maybe even like a sturdy husband, we would want something secure and something we know who this person is at the end of the day because we voted for them. Mm-hmm. And every time I have decided that not only is Trump crazy, but that he's just a really bad person.
Yeah.
I will see a video where like I just saw something that was from a woman who met Trump in the 80s. And she said that her mother and one of her children died on the same day.
Oh my God.
So it was like
happenstance.
The worst day of her life, and she was about to jump off the Brooklyn Bridge.
Jesus. And
Donald Trump
got
out of a limo, and
this woman has the weirdest life I've ever heard.
And talked her down.
Oh my God.
And then he basically like took care of her, gave her money, and looked after her.
What the fuck?
And she said, I know this story because I lived it, and I will never believe that Donald Trump is a bad person.
Yeah.
And so, to me, it doesn't necessarily make him a good person that this happened, given all the other things that we know he says and does. But maybe he's not black and white.
Well, just like you said, yeah, nobody's black and white. Like, maybe he's not a good person or a bad person, because who is either of those things? We're all shades, right? Wow, that's a crazy story. And, like, the idiom, truth is stranger than fiction. Mm-hmm. That's the definition of it right there. That woman's life is stranger than fiction.
She brought tears to my eyes.
If that was a movie, I wouldn't believe it.
Yeah. And it almost sounds like something you'd see in like a Richard Gere movie in the 80s. Like he saves some woman from jumping off a ledge, and then, he and the hooker fall in love.
He and the hooker.
So it's just like
yeah, so like he keeps you guessing, and you'll never understand him, and you'll never fix him, and we're all the girlfriend.
So somebody that doesn't keep us guessing now is Tucker Carlson.
Mm-hmm.
Let's
talk about this ass.
There's no depths to which he won't sink. So he has some kid who looks like one of his bastards, like a terrible haircut and like a spray tan.
The haircut is genetic.
Talking about how Jesus had to be a socialist. And that wasn't something that I was at all surprised by, because I've
heard a lot of people say that shit.
The guy's a leftist now, though. And he wants to now say that he's a Christian, and that if you're not a socialist, you're doing it all wrong. Because the dude isn't a Christian. He might not even be a socialist, but his handlers want him to promote this, so that's what he's doing. Mm-hmm. And none of that's surprising to me once you kind of know
the formula.
Yeah, and what to expect from people who are in a grift. You'll see them all do the same thing at the same time. Everybody in the past week or so, I noticed, has switched from saying Zionist to saying Jew. Just saying.
Yeah, so like they're rolling out either like whatever you want to, like terms of speech or like phrases or buzzwords, and you're seeing them all happen, like, to your point, like, not even just the same week, like the same day or the same, like 48-hour period. And it's not just these grifters. It's, people like Joe Rogan and Theo Vaughn. Mm-hmm. It's people who aren't necessarily considered to be in the political sphere, but just like anyone who has a lot of influence.
Influence and willing to take the money to use it.
Yeah. So
it's really weird, but Candace Owens, had basically said there can be no peace while Israel exists. Like, we have to destroy it. And I, in real life, encountered a person who said those words to me. Mm-hmm. Like, we have to destroy it. And I thought, like, yes, maybe 100% of MAGA, all the Trumpkins are on board with what Trump says. And if he says Tucker and Candace are crazy, they're going to drop him. But people who, like this guy that I talked to in public, he voted for Trump to end all the wars. And
then he's an idiot.
Right. And he's mad at Trump, so everything these people say are gold. And he said, like, we have to destroy Israel. And I thought, like, I can't even argue with you right now because I was in a work setting. Mm-hmm. But you're a fucking crazy person.
Well, for many reasons, right? Like, first of all, if you vote for a candidate because you think they're going to end war, when that is nowhere in their platform, I don't think it was ever discussed in debates or like pre-election, like campaign type pressers. Like you're putting, it's like a narcissist, like you're putting these like unspoken expectations on someone up on a pedestal, and then when they don't do it, they fall off the pedestal. But then additionally, you're simplifying world peace to like a one action answer. And I don't care what you're suggesting. Mm-hmm. It's too simple and it's stupid. If you think one action can create or bring about world peace, you're dumber than a beauty queen.
Yeah, I know. Like, if you focused on Gaza, you still obviously have Iran. If you focus on Iran, you still have Qatar. If you focus on Qatar, you still have Turkey. If you focus on Turkey, you still have Pakistan. And it's like, it's
China
all,
and North Korea and so on and so forth.
Yeah, like so many of these countries are just proxies for something even bigger. Like Hannah is hitting the nail on the head, you know? It's not that simple. And if you have decided, like Tucker wants you to believe he has, that 0.2% of the population is the only problem, and then we take care of that and it's solved, and I'm the influencer who's like bringing you this knowledge, bringing it about, it's like you're really no different than a crazy politician who wants you to believe that he can fix all of your problems. So speaking of the people who will side with Trump versus the people who will side with Tucker, let's take a look at a clip from CNN.
Let's start off with Tucker Carlson, who has been in absolute free fall with Republicans. I mean, just take a look at this. Look at this trend line. Tucker Carlson's net favorable. Back in March of 2024, when he and Donald Trump were very close friends, look at this. He was at plus 54 points. Look at where he is today at only plus 7 points among Republicans, and that includes GOP-leaning independents. I mean, that is a drop of what, 47 percentage points. My goodness gracious, when you go up against Donald Trump and you want to appeal to the Republican base, to quote the movie Good Burger, you go on the grinder, and that is exactly what has happened to Tucker Carlson, who has absolutely collapsed among Republicans.
Okay, wow. Right off the top, do we know what kind of accent that guy has?
Retarded.
It's wow, I don't think I've ever really heard someone speak that way. But that is a huge drop. And like I was saying earlier, how does that feel to you as somebody who's kind of seen him for who he is for a while now? Does it feel sort of like vindicating?
Yeah, but I think in a way you have to go back to Trump's actual statement. Tucker Carlson lost his primetime show. And he claims that he just got booted from the top spot on primetime. But it's like you weren't in the top spot, and you got booted for lying publicly and getting them into potential legal trouble, just like Lou Dobbs did. And Lou Dobbs lost his job on Fox Business. So he instead has a priest come on and say that it was some sort of demonic act. It's the only reason he could have possibly lost his show. And then he, of course, goes, oh, this crazy laugh that Tucker does now. He never used to do that. So it's like you either are having some sort of like nervous breakdown, or you're so disingenuous now that even you're laughing at yourself.
Which, I mean, like, frankly, I would believe that some of these people are having nervous breakdowns with like if you buy into like the theory of them grifting, like the stress and the making your money on being disingenuous, and like what does that do to you after a while? Like, it's like method acting that you never get to turn off. Like, you never get to turn it off. It's 24/7. Everything in your life is content, and it's paid for, and it's dictated. So it's not just the words you say that are purchased, it's who you are.
Yeah, and it makes me kind of want to compare these people to like child actors who end up, you know, they don't get work when they get a little older and they end up committing suicide. I feel like some of these people, like Tucker, he was in the early to mid 90s wearing his little bow ties, talking about how Pat Buchanan was crazy for hating Jews. And he was, you know, gaining some popularity and traction on other people's shows. And if you've been on TV for that long, and maybe you derive your entire identity from being like a news personality, and they kick you off the news, maybe he did have some sort of like nervous breakdown because he doesn't know who he is anymore. And if you lose that sense of self, maybe you're ripe for the picking for somebody to come along and say, oh, you don't really know who you are right now, so let me pay you to be who I want you to be.
Yeah.
I don't even want to give him that much credit, but I think it's possible.
I think that, yeah, like if you dig far enough, you'll find some kind of like tragic storyline or whatever. But at the end of the day, like, he's made a choice to build his life around your identity is purchased.
Yeah.
And maybe that's a way that some people can live. Maybe that's a role that in some way society needs. I'm not smart enough to say one way or the other, but like
You're smart enough.
I just mean to say like what I really know for sure is that it has a consequence, it has a price, and you can't understand what that price is until you're required to pay it.
Yeah, yeah. Well, and what's interesting is some of these people who have become influencers are begetting younger influencers who are related to them. They're teaching them, like, you don't have to have a normal job. You can make a ton of money doing this, and you're really probably peddling propaganda and bullshit. But if it's good enough for me, maybe it's good enough for you, kid.
It's a living, yeah.
So
it's not honest work, but it's a living.
So Shank, who we know is this fat, sweaty retard.
Okay. This is, I feel like, and you can cut this out if you want to, but like this is the second time this episode that we've used that word.
That I've used it.
I'm trying to be diplomatic here, but yeah, that you've used that word. Are we using this word?
Hey, I fall back on The Office. I would never call a mentally challenged person a retard. Sure. Shank is not officially mentally challenged. She's just a retard.
Okay.
So he's a fat, sweaty retard who just admitted both that he is the product of incest, that his grandparents were first cousins, and that he would legalize bestiality.
You did show me that clip that this guy said that he would legalize it, but he was so specific. Like, this is well thought out that he didn't want to, oh, wow.
If you're pleasuring the animal.
He said that as long as it was that direction, that you're giving something nice to an animal, and that's the battle he wants to fight.
So he said this publicly and years ago.
How is he still on the fucking air? You just say that shit and you get away with it?
Because Bernie Sanders is paying for it and probably doesn't even watch it.
Here I am concerned about the use of the R word, and this guy is saying that he wants to pleasure animal. What?
So
I can't even say it.
And here's the thing. There's a comedian, Mark Norman, who's talking about how he's always been a Democrat, but that now they kind of have sticks up their asses, and the right is like, hey, we're saying the R word over here. So it's like, you can say retard if you come with us. And, hey, I don't think that anything besides the N word should be off the table.
Yeah, that is a hard limit for me, and I will never cross it.
Yeah, I'm not going to say that either. But the R word, retard's on the table.
It does feel like some, like late 90s, early 2000s nostalgia. I think that we've lost our sense of humor a little bit. And to your point, I would never use that kind of language.
We're not
somebody
using that
who would
on
be
people.
hurt by it, or like actually feel like they were being targeted for who they were. Like I would never use that kind of language.
And I always ask this question because I really mean this. Idiot was once a clinical term, and it's retired. Retarded is a clinical term that's been retired. So what's the difference between idiot and retard? Nothing. Recency. That's it.
We're asking the important questions on Red, White, and Bi. Kick us off the air if you must.
So the title of the episode, what's the difference between idiot and retard?
We'll have to start out. I don't know. Anyway, you're talking about this horrible person, Shank.
So he has a nephew.
Of course he does.
Hasan Piker, who had kind of become like lore, like people were talking about, this is the absolute example of an Islamist leftist because he's shocking his dog.
Oh no, this is him.
Yeah, so he's this terrible asshole kid. And we're from Michigan. He just did an event with Rashida Tlaib.
Boo.
And time for both of you to leave because I hate you. They're terrorist sympathizers. They're as leftist as you could possibly get. But to your point, it's a racket. So he got his nephew into this racket, and now his nephew says things for clicks. And here's one of them.
That they can afford housing in Berkeley. I don't know how that works.
Well, my understanding is that the property owners who have properties there choose just not to rent it at all.
Yeah, kill them. Kill those motherfuckers and murder those motherfuckers in the street. Let the streets soak in their fucking red capitalist bloods, dude.
Okay, so Edgelord over here has read a book or two or watched TV before to have the phrase, the streets run red with blood. Like, I don't understand what he's actually upset about, that people who own property won't rent to him. Like, what is he actually, like, angry about?
Well, here's the thing. he has a bunch of money. So the idea that he either doesn't own property or doesn't rent wherever he wants is kind of hard to believe. And then there was actual footage of the Iranian regime sweeping up real human blood from the streets this week. So the fact that he just is throwing this out there is disgusting, especially considering that's a regime he supports. So all this roped into the fact that last week he was here in Michigan speaking with Rashida Tlaib, and she's never going to disavow. I asked her to, condemn what he said. Crickets. I asked Schenck to condemn what he said. Crickets. And
you're asking them to condemn that he said kill property owners in Berkeley, California.
To murder them. Because here's the thing.
I don't understand his original issue. Why is he angry about property owners in Berkeley?
He's angry about people owning property unless they're among the elite that he wants to be a part of. He's property rights are part of the foundation of this country, but most leftists don't agree with property rights existing at all unless, you're in the upper echelon, which they always think they're going to get to be, but not anybody else. Speaking of which, you have to check out this picture.
Okay, so what we're looking at here, if you're watching on YouTube, you can see, we'll put this image up, but for those of you who are just doing audio only, so basically this is a Twitter post calling out these guys. It looks like they're flying from DTW, our Detroit airport, to LAX, out to LA, and they're in first class. They're in first class, wearing branded clothing.
About socialism.
Which is unintentionally honest, right? The people who run socialism are completely separate from the regular proletariat, but they're just saying the quiet thing out loud by doing this. I have no problem with somebody buying first class. If you have the means to do it and you want to do it, fine, whatever.
Because I'm a capitalist.
Yeah, first class is awesome. If you want to do it, go for it. But you're championing socialism from the first class?
And, it's Laura Loomer brands them champagne socialists. And when you really think about this, Mark Ruffalo is a great example. He's a guy with millions and millions of dollars from Marvel movies who, complains that everybody else should be paying a bunch of taxes. It's why don't you just give all your money away?
Well, and that's the ultimate irony, right? The people like Bernie Sanders or Mark Ruffalo or any of these celebrities who are, or even AOC, you are championing everyone pooling their resources and everyone having the same opportunity and the same amount of money and the same things. And here you are saying it from your ivory tower. I realize many people are, unfortunately, maybe not savvy enough to call you on that shit, but I sure fucking am.
Yeah, and AOC giving some sort of high profile job to her boyfriend, or Ilhan Omar giving her husband all of these kickbacks. And it's basically they're laundering our taxpayer dollars to enrich themselves. And I really think that the only way this changes is if there is heavy punishment for fucking everybody over. But they're basically running socialist Ponzi schemes in the United States. And people say...
What could be more capitalist?
Yeah, people say that we're a capitalist country, but it's people getting away with all this stuff, at the very least, is cronyism, maybe fascism, and it's not looking good for us. So it's unless we make some sort of change happen, I say, tar and feather people who take advantage of us, nothing will change. They'll just keep doing this. So this guy, he is like Bernie Sanders in that he can have as many houses as he wants and yell, eat the rich, and just make himself richer by doing so. And it's pretty gross that, to Hannah's point, so few people kind of realize what's going on.
And I think to some degree, for me personally, to feel I have intellectual consistency, if somebody's going to find this loophole and exploit it, I can't be that mad at them. Like, you're going to dress yourself up in communism, but actually be peddling and operating in capitalism. I think it's your right. I think it's sleazy and gross, but like, whatever, it's your right. Like, that's your hustle. Where I have a problem is when it is people who are either elected officials or trying to become an elected official.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, I kind of have to respect...
A private citizen can do what they want.
They can do what they want. They can make money how they want. If somebody's giving them money willingly, then it's legitimate.
Well, and here's the problem. It's
to some degree. Obviously, you can't like commit fraud and such.
Sure.
But...
It's like what Thomas Sowell always says, that like you play on people's sympathies when you present socialism. Mm-hmm. Like, it's an emotional and not a logical reaction, but some people, they want to feel like they're being a good person. Mm-hmm. And that's the, the quote unquote genius of socialism, right? Mm-hmm. It's not that the plan's going to work or that it's a good idea. It's that it pulls people in. It
pulls a good, naive, well-meaning person in. And I think that's the real dark underbelly of it. Like, sure, you have your people who want something for nothing. You have your people who want to just like suck on the government teat and not work mm-hmm. and have everything they need, because, like without having to work hard for it. To me, like, that's shitty, but that's not the bad part. To me, the bad part is somebody who thinks that they're actually helping the disenfranchised. They think they're doing a good thing. They're sacrificing in the name of something they really, truly believe in. And they're just, not only are they not helping someone else, they're lining the pockets of someone who's cruel. And to take advantage of like a naive, good-meaning, well-meaning person, I think that's the really gross part for me.
It's funny too, because like Soul points out that he was that person. He wanted to.
We all were, right? Like, there's that saying about
I never was.
Well, Ash is better than the rest of us.
No.
But like,
I'm much worse.
There's that saying, right, that I think we've talked about before, where like, if you're a young person who's not a Democrat, you have no heart. If you're an older person who's not a Republican, you have no brain. So like, yeah, when you're like a bleeding heart, idealistic, like raw, emotional young person who wants the world to be improved and you feel like you can improve it.
Yeah.
That's a very appealing idea, that you could like live in a community that shares and takes care of each other. Like, that is ideal. I can't begrudge them that. That is a beautiful vision.
But as Soul points out, if you're paying attention, you'll probably be in the midst of that and then realize that I had this mindset and I realize now that this isn't going to work. It's not the way to help people. It's not the way to achieve my goals. But he says that the issue now is that people are more obsessed with the perception, like how people are going to perceive them, than they are with the actual doing good. So it's weird.
Virtue signaling kind of thing.
Yeah. And it reminds me, it's weird that we started with the podcasters, because it reminds me of a movie by Gus Van Sant that's based on a true story from the 90s with Nicole Kidman, Joaquin Phoenix, and Matt Dillon, To Die For. And it's this woman who wanted to be on the news. And she's talking about how, if somebody's watching, it makes you a better person.
Wow.
Because she's a narcissist. And to me, it's funny that this whole culture seems very narcissistic, in that if somebody's watching, I might act a certain way and say I believe certain things and that I'm a do-gooder. Even if you know it's BS, you're more obsessed with how they're going to see you than what is really going on behind the scenes. So it's a weird concept, but all that to say, there are very few people like me. I think the coolest person in media, besides Thomas Sowell, because you can be an old man who's that smart and still kicking and just be that cool. The coolest person in media to me is Ben Shapiro. He's geeky. He's got a weird voice that talks like this. That, like, my wife is a doctor, but I still think he's a cool person, and I think he's probably a really good role model.
And it's strange that you could have a voice like that, and like. Honestly, we've talked about this. 2 years ago, like, he's a nerd and he's like a lovable nerd, whatever. Today, fast forward 2 years, He's fucking hot.
He grew a beard and he works out all the time. And he's a great looking guy.
Wow.
And I love his eyebrows. They can make fun of him all day.
Like, let me
He's
just
good
put him
looking.
on mute, man. He's a beautiful man.
And I'll just put him on like slow it down, like half speed.
And then he'll like drop his voice a little bit.
My wife is a doctor. But all that to say, I understand that most people, they're not sapiosexuals. They're not into like a smart person is a hot person. I married a lab scientist, so I am one of those people. But I get that people aren't necessarily going to think Ben Shapiro's cool. And that to me is the element that's missing. Like these fucking socialists are wearing like branded clothing. They're pulling people in and they're making it cool. And we need to make being rich cool again.
Well,
if the closest we have to that is Elon Musk, it's not, he's not a good looking guy. He's kind of weird. He's a spurg. You know, it's like we need something a little bit Gordon Gekko-y.
I think for the time being, we're safe. I don't think that we've outpaced evolution so much that we can say that the person with the most resources isn't the sexiest. Like they just are. And I think all you have to do is like open Instagram to see that. But, oh man, I totally lost my train of thought there. I think we're safe for the time being in terms of rich.
Well, I want people to be like remembering things that the young people are too young to remember. Like Clueless, Cher Horowitz, a Jewish American princess, in Alicia Silverstone, who I'm sure is not Jewish, but everybody loved her.
You know her name was Silverstein before they came over.
She was a beautiful girl, sure, but she lived in a mansion, and she's Emma, who starts out as a terrible character who has a big arc, and everybody loved her, and everybody loved Clueless, and you didn't hate her because she was rich. And now you have people who are going to shoot CEOs of companies just because they're CEOs of companies, and it's like, what the hell's gotten into us? Everybody deep down wants to be rich.
I have a hard time buying that this is like a trend of society, though. I think like there are elements of this that we can see even like in living memory. Like there were always like beatniks and debutantes in like the 60s and 70s, right? Like, yeah, the beatniks had their time and there were people who like preferred them or whatever. But then you have like your rich debutantes and your preps and stuff. You go to the 80s, whatever, and you have like your richy rich preps and you have like your Breakfast Club bender types. Like, yeah, you have your subculture, your deviance, whatever you want to call it, like your underground, and that's always going to be there. But like, so is the other end of that spectrum. That's always going to be there. At least I feel like in our lifetime, in our living memory, in probably the lifetime of our nieces and nephews as well.
Well, and to me, it's funny that we see these champagne socialists, and it reminds me of like other ironies. A socialist would tell you that they want this classless society, and they're the most classist people of all. Like, they hate rich people. This kid's saying we should kill him in the street.
Yeah.
It's like everything, it's like 1984, you know, like this, like everything you say, it's really the opposite of what you mean.
Something that gives me a little bit of hope is looking like, I really like historical fiction, and I've read a lot of stuff like from like the Romanov era, or like the, you know, like when Russia went from an imperialist country to obviously, you know, like a socialist overthrow, like revolution, or, you know, Les Mis is one of my favorite things too, like the people's movement to overthrow like the bourgeois, whatever. These people, at least the way that they're portrayed, actually walked the walk, talked the talk. Like, they lived amongst like regular people. They gave up like their wealth. They left wealthy families to live, you know, like to scratch a living and to like live this communist lifestyle, at least the way it's portrayed. And even that took so much struggle and so much effort, and it was bloody and it cost lives, and it was like a slow change, right? So compare those type of people in Les Mis or the Romanov like overthrow, like compare that to the fucking, I almost said the R word. The fucking idiots we have today. The
influencer
influencers,
class.
the virtue signalers, the green-haired,
Low IQ.
obese people. Like, low IQ, just losers who are doing what we're doing in America. Is that enough? It was barely enough when they actually did it legitimately in these other countries. Is it enough now?
Well, and
I'm clinging to hope that it's not.
And here's what's interesting too is like, I go back and forth on incitement in speech. Like, I think I might lean toward being an actual free speech absolutist, that you can speak with incitement and that should still be free speech. You're not really doing anything. And asking people to do something is, it's like, should Charles Manson be in prison? Is it like, or, should he have been for conspiracy to commit murder? Like, yeah, but should he have been for murder? He didn't murder anybody.
Oh, yeah, no.
It's like weird, right?
As much as I hate the guy and think he's a piece of shit, I agree with you. I don't think it's illegal. I don't think it should have legally stuck.
And to say something vague, he did say in Berkeley, specifically, to kill people in the streets. But if he's just said, like, vaguely, like, eat the rich or kill rich people or whatever, is it really specific enough that you could point to this guy and call him a mastermind and have that be true? I don't know the answer to that, but I kind of lean toward no. So he is inciting violence. But to Hannah's point, he's doing it from an ivory tower. He's a pussy. Like, he's not going to get out there himself and do any of this. He just wants people who listen to his show to do it for him. And then what would he do if they came for him?
Oh, yeah, he'd cower and shit his pants. Which I guess brings me around to my original point of, like, I don't think the steel and dedication and sacrifice that we see in some of these revolutionary stories, I don't think that these people have that.
No, and you look at even Karl Marx was a great example. He lived off of other people his whole life, never had a job, and just wrote a book of really shitty ideas, and then let everybody else do the hard work to get them there. And then, what is it, like 100 million people die as a result of your lazy, elitist ideas that you push out to the world with no consequence on yourself. He died a fat, hairy guy with weird hair, crazy beard, and...
Didn't one of them die of, like, neurosyphilis, too? One of those Russian dudes? Was it Lenin? I'm pretty sure one of them died of neurosyphilis.
I mean, the way that these ladies talk about Stalin's mustache,
Ooh. Stalin. Have you ever seen pictures of young Stalin? What a stone-cold fox.
No, to me, he just looks like lighter Saddam Hussein.
I don't know what young Saddam Hussein looked like.
Just a guy with a mustache. I
But
don't get
young
it.
Stalin was a babe.
No, all I can see is 100 million dead people. I'm just like, nah. No, Teddy Roosevelt, my wife likes Teddy.
There's a tiny part of my brain that always registers how short he was, though.
Well, that's why you have Tom Selleck instead.
Yes, thank God. Thank God. We need hamburgers and Tom Selleck and baseball.
See, I really think that men have they've let themselves dwindle into nothingness. And if they built themselves back up, I think I would lose this lady to a hulking fella with a nice mustache.
I think you have nothing to worry about because I don't think
It's not going to happen.
I don't think it's going to happen. And that brings us sort of full circle to something I meant to say right off the bat, and I'm just now remembering. We have talked about this off air. I don't particularly like to talk about people who talk about politics. I don't like to give a lot of, like, spotlight to
Podcast wars.
Yeah, these grifters and pundits, because it's like, if we think they're assholes and all we do is talk about them, what does that make us, right? But I think that this week has been different because we're seeing a little bit of that truth, the light of truth hitting them, and people, more so than people like us who hyper focus on this, are starting to see these people for what they are. And I think that is a bit of hope. And I think, obviously there's a long way to go, and that is not the only element toward, like, recovery for our culture or our political scene. But it's it's something. It's a good thing. And it's been a while, I feel like, since we've been able to talk about a good thing.
And to Hannah's point, we don't just have these guys who talk about other people, who accuse people of things that we're talking about. We're also talking about the idea of them and how easily they are undone by someone who has more influence than an influencer. Say, the President of the United States of America.
For sure.
Like,
for sure. I think it's starting to dawn on people throughout all this that, like, you think that these people like Candace Owens and Tucker Carlson or whatever are like independent and decentralized and not owned by like a news network. But it's like, hey, wait a minute. Like, just the same way that your ads are designed to look like podcasts, or like the way marketing is like super clever and like sneaky, and you think you're watching one thing, but it's actually just an ad. This is the same thing. You think you're watching an independent pundit and you don't realize how much money is being traded behind the scenes. You don't realize how organized it is, how coordinated it is. You're just watching the same bullshit network news that you've been watching this whole time, that you make fun of your parents for. It's just in a different outfit.
Instead of an advertiser, it's Qatar.
Yeah, absolutely. And like, whereas your parents were all like watching information that was being paid for by like a few wealthy families who were in TV, now you're watching entertainment that's being paid for by a few countries who have a vested interest in your culture swinging one way or the other.
And how
which
many
is terrifying, really.
Yeah, and how many of the people that are paying these quote-unquote influencers have also paid for clicks from Pakistan, other countries, to make it look more important than it is to other people so that they think it's legitimate. Like, there was a post on Twitter with the original poster supposedly had 1.6 million followers, and he was basically calling for the extermination of Jews. And I screen capped it, and I almost shared it, and then I thought, how many of these 1.6 million follows are bots? How many are from Pakistan? Does this guy really have the kind of influence that he professes to have? And I just deleted the screenshot.
When we were coming up in the world as millennials, there was this, mantra, don't feed the trolls. It's like, well, the trolls look a little different now.
Yeah.
And I think like maybe a media savvy person who like grew up trying to like make a professional podcast or like trying to be the next Tucker or whatever, like maybe this is old news to someone in California or in the entertainment industry. But we're just two regular bisexual Midwestern girls. And if people around us are seeing it, that is very hopeful to me. Like, regular people are seeing that you can buy followers, that clicks are money, that by blocking a person on X, you're actually taking away money from something that is preying upon you and preying upon controlling the culture.
Yeah, and any of the people that Trump mentioned, and then all of their little proxies, because, they're just Iran and they have their little proxies too. I have blocked all of them. And I would encourage you, even though we talked about how Trump just trounced them, to do the same.
And with that, we would like to wish you a good eve. Happy weekend. Happy April. We'll talk about some actual like in motion real time politics next week, I think.
So, a poll question. Do you think it's more important to leave these people unblocked and try to continually call them on their lies, or just to block them and realize that you may be shutting down the supposed influence?
All right, so that's a pretty yes or no question. We'll post it. You can find us on YouTube, Spotify,
and Apple Podcasts.
And if you would like to reach out and talk about anything that we have mentioned on the show or something else that we didn't mention on the show, you can email us at
redwhiteandbi@gmail.com. That's the word and.
AND, no ampersand. All right, guys, it feels good to be back. We can't wait to come back again soon. Until then, enjoy.
Bye.
Bye.